Excuse. Mm. Give that a quick minute. Just gonna bask in it. I hit the go live button, and all of a sudden I'm a little bit sleepy. That's probably because I just ate. Anyway, uh, for the nobody. This is Suzerain. And, yeah, let's just do it. My enslavement and my freedom, my flesh burning like a raw summer night, you are my country. Azim Hikmetran. Tinway, Kingdom of Swordland. You open your eyes to this world. I came from wealthy family, full income family, or poor. So, as per the name of this stream, I'm gonna be as corrupt as possible. But I want to do it subtly as well. So, like, probably just start middle income. Because mega corrupt would just be I'm rich and let's just keep that train a rolling. And poor is for your, rags to riches, but just the underdog story, I started from the bottom, now we here. But this'll keep me flying under the radar. His name Angel. He's the only child of a diligent civil servant. I lived quite an ordinary childhood. It was not bad. I was lucky enough to attend a well-known public school. Frequent fights broke out at the Rain family home. He just made me feel uneasy. Years passed. September 9th, 1923. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. He heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced the historic revolution. The kingdom was no more, the Republic of Swordland was born. So, 23, this would make me 15. Didn't understand, somewhat worried. I'm just happy to have the day off. Graduating, I passed the university exam with high marks. I had the opportunity to choose between several studies: law, economics, or history. I'm gonna try and do this lawful evil, so I need to study law for sure. During the first year, I attended a lecture with David Whiskey. He's a well-known diplomat from the Foreign Ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained how the Supreme Court is obstructing justice in Swordland. He stated that laws should be applied fairly, and that even the members of the Supreme Court are subject to the same principles. Yeah, the laws should not be applied fairly. May 22nd, 1927, soldiers entered the campus in the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest. And with your best friend Peter Vector, and we decided to avoid any confrontation. Get the fuck out of here. Durin declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. Yeah, just get the fuck out of there. I'm trying to keep my hands dry. Oh, and there's screams. Yeah, shelter yourself from the storm. The screams echoed. It was a gloomy year. The rest of teachers were replaced by those that promoted conformism to the state. Whole Sword turned a blind eye to the things that were happening. He didn't want to stay idle and decided to join human rights groups, student council, political debates. That one. Because it looks good on a resume. Council was focused on increasing the student involvement in the campus along with partaking in the budget. Through active participation, gained budget management and leadership skills. In one of the meetings, Peter introduced you to one of his friends, Monica, who was a volunteer for the Ordish League of Women. You were immediately attracted to... smarts. Politically charged environment led me to the socialists, the nationalists, or the political organizers. Just, stay away. So, I didn't join anything. I'm a socialist, or I'm a Nazi. Nationalism's bad, kids. Let's see. Yeah, try and keep things neutral. June 2nd, 1928. Radio relayed that the Communist General Ricard... Hello, my cat is here. Done breaking shit? Guess so. Communist General Ricard surrounded Lundarin and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. You just couldn't believe it, the army was fighting amongst themselves. Swordland plunged into chaos. Escalated full-blown civil war. Horrors made you isolate yourself for a while. Monica helped you cope, and love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time to love. The chaos must end. 1929, Republic of Swordland. Charismatic Colonel Tarkin Sol orchestrated a sudden coup and brought an end to the chaos. He wrote a new constitution and restored stability. People saw him as a savior. He formed the United Swordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate. In the first ever elections, yeah, so far this character is just, I don't want nothing to do with it. He stopped all the violence. I'll give him a vote. Why not? USP won the election by a large majority. After graduation, you kept seeing Monica and noticed her interest to marry. However, a letter arrived from the military calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. Time to serve my national duty. February 30th, Borgia region. Devastating civil war broke out in the neighboring country. Well then, distinguished Major Joseph Lancia ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. Very cold winter night when you began marching out from Gumren Outpost. Time to become a war hero, I guess. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, noises were heard. Visibility was too low to confirm the source, and the squad crawled forward in formation and was fought to observe. The refugees had made it beyond the border fence. Yeah, gotta follow the rules, right? Escort them back. Refugees were in despair and they realized you were taking them back to the border. Screams of protest ensued as they were restrained. You delivered them to the border guards. After several months of military service, your duties ended, and I went back to civilian life. Number 1, Monica decided to share her lives together. After receiving the blessing of her parents, a ceremony was held in Whole Sword. During the same year, I was offered a high-paying job at the governing United Swordland Party. It's important to start your career on good foot, so I accepted it. Working for the ruling party was the easiest path to power. Financial compensation was too great to pass up, and the best opportunity to change the country for the better. Yeah, power. That's what I'm all about right now. Legal assistant to one of the most experienced members of the Assembly. Worked long and hard, staying late at work and going through hundreds of pages of legal documents, climbing the ladder. September 1933, Seoul strengthened the Republic by removing the institutions and symbols of the former kingdom from society. Things were also looking up for the country as the massive economic boom continued. People were the happiest they had been in a decade. Election time came and it was decided. President Tarkin Sol was elected once more. Hooray, he did it. April 2nd, 1934, the ongoing legal battle between the Justice Ministry and the Supreme Court put you under a lot of stress. Your significant contribution to the legal case triggered an invitation to meet President Tarkin Sol himself. offered me a key position. I was to become the youngest member of Assembly. Yeah, obviously, I'm in. As the youngest MP, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. I needed allies, so I brought Peter as my right-hand man. There was an I in his name before. They spelled his name wrong. Birth of my son Frank provided a brief moment of joy and relief. Sacrifice work to spend time with your family. Sacrifice family to improve my position in the party. Peter, I have done great things to cement my position in the party. Meanwhile, at home, Monica and Frank felt my absence. At the same time, President Sol increased his authority over the years. Yeah. As Sol increased his authority over the years, his growing ego started to cause strife within the party. Cracks began to show. President Sol barely secured a majority, October 1945, secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. For the past year, people were growing discontent with the corruption and worsening quality of life. Meanwhile, calls for a united Sword of the Party Congress became louder as the leadership struggle started to brew. I watched from the sideline, I kept supporting the president. Joined the internal opposition. I think the best option, gotta get out while the getting's good. Gave my support to Ewald Alfonso, a reformist and talented business magnate who was the main contender for party leadership. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party members one by one, but he didn't approach me. What a fucking surprise, this prick. August 1946, Party Congress was nothing short of impressive. Banners of United Swordland were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. Voting for the party leadership began. Yeah. Efforts bore fruit as the contentious leadership vote was won by Lord Alfonso. During the Congress, Sol announced his retirement from politics. He knew the structure he had established was to stay. The country had become increasingly authoritarian. We're happy he was leaving, troubled by his departure. Yeah, I don't really care who's in charge. Because it's gonna be me! A month later, my daughter was born. Monica named her Deanna. She motivated you during a tumultuous period in the party. General elections were approaching. The United Swordland Party was under the new leadership of Ewald Alfonso. Joined the party and campaigned for him, or did my best not to help. Yeah. During the general elections, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with his secretary, diminishing their chances. A sense of privatization program proposed by Ewald Alfonso secured an election victory for the United Swordland Party. For years, did my best to make it a better place, tried all that was necessary to climb up the ladder. Yeah, that one. 51, presidency of Ewald Alfonso saw many bold reforms, but was followed by a serious economic recession. The other parties announced their bids for the 1953 election, but the unfair system hampered all opposition efforts to win. Thought that my party could not survive another crisis, worried about the economic recession, worried that my reputation would be tarnished along with Alfonso. That's the one. I'm thinking about me. Together with Peter, our presence in the USP grew, became the face of a new wing in the party. Effectively took over leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. Moment to make a move had come. Blame Alfonso for the crisis on television, bribe and extort his inner circle, advise him to step down. That's the one. That's the one. Like, I don't want to make allusions to House of Cards, because, like, Kevin's... Whoa, my phone. Phone's exploding. I know I watched that already. Leave me alone. Forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. That's my bad. That's my mistake. I don't even know if you heard it because of RTX. But it doesn't matter, because it's off now, and it's not going to happen again. Anyway, like I was saying, I don't want to make allusions to House of Cards, because Kevin Spacey is a monster. But I do like the first or second or whatever, like early season thing of he started as the Speaker of the House, and then, after discovering... Like, it was something or other with the vice president, where he convinced the president to get the vice president to step down and replace Kevin Spacey with him. And then the next season going and like, okay, I've like just getting like scandal after scandal, just lobbied at the president and just convincing him like it's time for you to step down and walk away, and then becoming president of the United States without a single person voting for him. So yeah, just keep those bridges intact, but get the fuck out of my way. Took my advice seriously and started to reshuffle his cabinet, but most of his inner circle abandoned him. Diplomatic attitude made the party vote me in as leader. Following this, I announced that I would be running for president in the general election with Peter as my running mate. It's my turn. That's a language I don't understand. After visiting every city in town during the campaign, I made a speech on state television. I promised to enact democratic reforms or preserve national values. Yeah, I need to preserve national values because I do not want democracy. Holy shit. Nation of Swordland. Due to the incompetent leadership, enemies both internal and external are influencing our glorious nation. Today, more than ever, we need to unite under one flag and protect our values. Gretchy Swordland. On election day, millions went out and cast their votes. It's time to face the truth. President Rain. I think that's my name. I'm not sure. It wasn't ever established. As Anton Rain, I have made many promises to the people of Swordland in order to gain their votes. They must be considered very carefully. Economy. Swordland's economy has been based on a planned doctrine since its formation until the former president, Ewald Alfonso, enacted free market reforms. Now the country finds itself between two different economic systems. The free market is capitalism. I will take advantage of capitalism to line my pockets. Diplomacy. Intensifying global rivalry between capitalist Arcadia in the west and communist United Honda in the east is opening new diplomatic possibilities. Swordland can take steps to align itself closer to one. Hey, guess what? We're going capitalism because it's bad. Immigration. In recent years, Bludish, Wizik, and Angolian immigrants flocked to Swordland due to increased immigration laws enacted by Ewald Alfonso. As a result, tensions between Swordlands and immigrants have been increasing. Well, if tensions are high, let's build that wall. I have also promised to focus on a certain extensive subject within our first term. People expect us to solve the negative situations within this topic while providing an overall improvement to the related topic's health. Since the 1940s, the difference of service quality between urban and rural hospitals has been getting increasingly worse, and the average life expectancy has dropped significantly. Education. Schools, teacher, and even classroom equipment in certain areas causes massive gaps in previously robust education system. Increased crime is pushing law enforcement to their limits, while judges at courts deal with a huge and expanding backlog of legal cases. And military protects the country from hostile threats, while some see it as a massive financial burden, others view it as a critical deterrent. I'm going to be the president of law and enforcement. Promises will be remembered and they will have consequences. Yeah, let's do it. 2 weeks have passed since we won the election. That's me. I got a thick mustache. Now I was about to be sworn in as the 4th president of Swordland. Thousands were watching the inauguration ceremony and cheering my name, Anton Rain. The die was cast, and there my story began. In the distance, the Maroon Palace stood on top. Oh, I got a codex, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Haha. Okay, I'm not going to go over all of these, but it's where the executive branch is located. So the Maroon Palace is the White House. Pride is... yeah. It's that thing. It's a monument. I looked at my family. My son and daughter, Frank and Deanna, were next to Monica, my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my cabinet. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned on me. Orso Hawker, Chief Justice for the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. Okay... Assistant, join the SPF 29, elected as a member of the Assembly, close ties with Tarkin Soul. Several landmark rulings that significantly transformed the criminal procedure, taxes, and other areas of law. Which incorporated highly controversial policies of Tarkin Soul, including the approval of the security package laws, and ruling that the British Freedom Party entering the elections was unconstitutional. Wait, what? What's the Freedom Front? Milton political. I mean, I'm just saying that's fucking hilarious. Like, what we've declared one of our political opponents to be unconstitutional, so they're not allowed to run for office. That's hilarious. Staunch establishment supporter who represents the majority of the Supreme Court and is some the most powerful and divisive figure in Swordfish politics. Cool. Time for the oath has come. I'm ready. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will respectively execute the office of the President of Swordland, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the people and the Constitution of the Republic of Swordland. I may now deliver my inauguration speech. It's an honor. My fellow swords, if you current dire situation to play up the fears, I have 3 budget and 2 wealth. But what if I had 2 budget and 3 wealth? Oh, cat's in the way. I can't do anything right now. Idea of unity. For many generations, this country and its long history have kept us tied to an idea, the idea of unity, and our people's right for a free and prosperous life. Our workers are no less productive than a decade ago, our capable minds are no less inventive, our products and services no less requested than they were last week, last month, and last year. Yes, we need to rewrite the broken Constitution. Because then I get to make the laws. And sort of once again, change our noun. Past these nations never been greater. As 1,000 cheered, they're shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility, the power, and the burden all at the same time. Raise my fists. Just a big... I didn't stick my hand in the air, I grabbed my big rubber fist and started waving it around. One of the presidential guards came by to notify that it was time to leave. I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. Presidential state car? Black Cadillo with the flags of Swordland above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding the door. Sergei Wolkner. Some of the affected speech I made, hearing my new title, made me smile. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Sergei, your new driver. Nice to meet you. It's an honor. Respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing inside. I entered the car. I'll be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move. On the way, Sergei proceeded to explain his duties as a driver. As minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thoughts again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. Suddenly made a gesture toward the now closer palace. Isn't it a beauty? The Maroon Palace. He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes, so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I am reminded of my duty to this nation. It's just a fucking building, dude. Beating heart of the nation. Car drove past the majestic gates, continuing uphill to the entrance and stopped for the doors. Got out of the car and opened it for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. Morgana Westcore. Famous Swordish praise on the times of the revolution. Morgana Westcore, Vecturn Sista. Morning will come, victory is close. Way upstairs, through the extravagant corridors of the palace. You want your driver to like you, alright? That's a guy you gotta spend a lot of time with. Stairs to the extravagant corridors of the palace, marble and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. Footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. Guards bowed their heads in respect as I opened the massive doors to my new office. Okay, what's up here? Okay, reports. Oh man, I think I'm gonna really like this game. Alright. Salutations from Chancellor Hegel. Chancellor Hegel sent his congratulations on your great victory and wish for close cooperation with countries in the future. Hegel signaled concessions from Belgsland in case of a promising trade deal. Head of the Swordish democracy be successful. It's about the threat of Arcasia's growing influence poses for Eastern Maricopa. Communist revolutionary. Yeah. Prime Minister Van Horten congratulated us on our election and praised our party's stance on just and transparent elections, signaled his wishes to continue the trade partnership between our countries as equal partners as opposed to earlier trade deals which he believes gave Swordland unfair advantages. That's the capitalist, so I hate him, but he's gonna be my best friend because money. Congratulations from President Alvarez. Congratulated you for the results. Spoke about his hopes to have a beneficial partnership deal in the future. His best wishes to Swordish people. On the fight to the coaching Malenviavist influence of United Contanta from the East, emphasizing the importance of unity in our continent. Questions from President Smolak. Forgot to look up Alvarez. It's my bad. Wesek nationalism with socialist characteristics. Lovely. Oppressed and persecuted most of his opposition, censored the Wesek press, and seized the assets of the multimillionaires. Okay, so like the first two are bad, but I like that third one. Staunch anti-Arcasian, blamed the Royalists, Liberals, and Democrats for the Civil War and subsequent Arcasian invasion. Despite being an anti-Millennialist before the Civil War, he brought Wayland closer to United Contanta, which helped him bring the country out of recession with financial aid coming from the CSP. Aggressive promotion of Wayland nationalism and West politics resulted in the oppression of ethnic and religious minorities in Wayland, marked by thousands of British people being arrested and killed, as well as military action against the BFF, which set up bases in northeastern Wayland. Wow, fuck that guy. Okay, read more. Alvarez, there we go. Lesbian politician and business magnate, currently serves as the Prime Minister of Lesbia. 100th richest man in the world. Business career began in construction. Famous Alvarez Towers. Business the Falcino 5. Investigated by the Lesbian Anti-Corruption Force for profiteering in 1940, but the investigations were dropped the same year when he entered the Democrazia Lesbia as a member of the Lesbian Parliament. reportedly admitted that he entered politics so as to avoid imprisonment. My character can get behind that. Alvarez was elected as leader of the Democratic Lesbian, launched a massive campaign of electoral advertisements on all lesbian channels. There was no connections. Entered the 1949 elections and was elected as Prime Minister lesbian. Saw major tax concessions, removal of many state regulations, and general improvement of the lesbian economy. One of the biggest achievements of his term was lesbians' membership approval in the ATO. Elected again in 1953. Again, fuck that guy as well. Just rich asshole doing whatever the fuck he wants. Port from Latchivan. Latest marine traffic reports show that the port of Latchivan is no longer the busiest of the Markova continent, falling behind to the third position. This is a negative indicator for administration. Latchivan still has the potential to shine again as a major trading center. Port of Latchivan is the largest port of Sordland, holds enormous importance for the economy, particularly as the main distribution center linking the capital and inner parts of Sordland to the rest of the world. Each port city will hopefully keep supporting a possible economic upturn in the entire country if investment projects succeed. Okay, so this is just shit that's coming up. There's other countries that have busier ports. Still good, but it's not the best anymore. I get that. Mayor of Arbery, Eric Neal, reports a lack of adequate infrastructure around Arbery, which seriously undermines the attractiveness of Arbery's investment climate. Foreign investors, particularly from Mongolia, are becoming hesitant to invest in the city. Meanwhile, data published by the National Business Council, around 19% of the company's total expenditures in England is absorbed by logistics costs, while in pure regions this figure is below 10%. I think there's some investment going on over there. Regional capital of England, situated on mighty cliffs that are facing the sea. Behind the city is a huge forest which spans hundreds of square kilometers. Bay of Arbery, blah blah blah. Fishing. Old symbolic city hall in the city center named Visaria and Agnolia, which is 150 years old. Reminds people that Arbery was once part of Greater Angolia. In the past 2 decades, poverty-stricken extremists started to attack immigrants in a few districts. A huge part of the population condemned these racist acts. Sadly, illegal drug activity is also considered normal in the poorer districts. The new mayor, Eric Neal, tries to tackle these issues, but blames the lack of resources to be able to solve them. But you're getting too many resources, my dude. We'll have to have a talk about that at some point. Low production in England. This report calls attention to the alarmingly low levels of activity growth in the region of England, where there are also high rates of food insecurity, malnutrition, and rural poverty in the inner parts of the region. Okay, so I just need to do something to help England grow more foods. I think that's everything. Okay, 2 more reports, then briefings. Whole sword reports that the rising population and fast urban expansion has resulted in high levels of congestion from traffic. Logistics report underlines increased traffic and slow transportation routes as the biggest problems of the capital. They also report that the absence of well-designed, large land-based logistics center where all transports come together. One of the great problems for the SDK sword. Yeah. Big yards. This whole sword is a big metropolis. Transporters are scattered all over Horsword, having established such centers in 10 different districts. Okay. So, not the capital, but... it might be the Capitol building. Oh yeah, I'm in the Capitol. Duh. So just... we got bad infrastructure, we need to build new roads. Okay. General staff gathers. General staff convene around the election of victory. Branches of the Sword of Strong Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strong, armed with massive security features. Chief of the Armed Forces Vulcan Kruger made a public press statement highlighting the increasing chances of military confrontation in eastern Marcopa. Requests to support to strengthen the military. Long-serving, second most decorated officer in Swordland. Served in the Imperial Army before 1923, holding positions such as Colonel and Major General. He supported the coup, but later turned against him after he... Oh, I did not know he was doing mass executions! Oh, shit! One of the group of officers who organized under Colonel Soule in the Swordfish Civil War. 1929, Kruger was appointed Brigadier General, Brother Swordfish General Staff. The Emperor's military victory alongside the Wayland border. Key supporters of him during the 30s and 40s. Became the chief of the armed forces in 1945. Became the oldest person to hold that title. And just say we want more monies for the military. I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna go grab some water. Throat's already getting a little dry. Okay, I am back. Just had to fill up my wide while. Alright, current political situation. Peter Vectorn arrived a couple of minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back his smile. Yeah, this is my old college buddy. Well, we did it, Anton. We've won, finally. All those years with our noses to the grindstone paid off. His eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self, loosening his tie and undid the top two buttons of his shirt. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you? Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. He gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we'd be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on something special for us, an early Maroon 30-year-old. We will celebrate at the inaugural ball, just hang in there until the evening. Yeah. Yeah, no partying right now. We got shit to do, but we can party later tonight. Looking forward to it. Evelyn hopes to congratulate you in person. No, been some time since I saw her. I'm sure the kids would love to see their Uncle Peter for the first time as the vice president. It's great to hear. It's crazy how fast the two have grown up. You were a good father. He had a wistful look in his eyes. He and Evelyn had never been able to have kids of their own. During our campaign, the opposition had floated the rumor that he'd fathered illegitimate children during his wilder years, but it had never been substantiated. The door swung open and Lucien Gallardi, current chief strategist, MSP since 37, various careers. Hired in CSO at several companies before joining politics as legal advisor to members of the assembly. Respected as a strategist, accomplishments in recent elections, and he is good at his job. Compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, and opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen. Tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you are exactly on time. Hello, Peter. Lucian then turns towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you. To be here. Lucian spoke in soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. Start the meeting by evaluating the current situation. Majority of the Swordfish people demand change. Are concerned about the economy of the Constitution. They blame the system for their problems. People are losing their trust in our democracy. This frustration even causes some to reason with figures like Bernard Circus. He's a poet. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, he joined the what's that, the socialist group, I think. Yeah, communists. And then they attacked people. Oh no. Anti-communists. Oops. First communist to be elected to the GNA of Swordland. That bring change, the last government did not. Prince Richter, leader of the Reformist, believes that true change can only be done by transferring some of our powers to the Assembly. I'll move into the details of their demands shortly. People's Freedom and Justice Party, major shareholder of the construction company Taurus Holding. Studied economics at Akron Business School, worked for the Watchtower of Human Rights in our case, yeah. Research and development. Rights activist, advocates. Called Ewald Alfonso a puppet of the deep state, criticizing him for not upholding his promises for change. Although he was a strong opponent, he supported his privatization policies. Leader of the opposition against the government in Swordland, gaining more popularity over the last years and organized countless public speeches, explaining the importance of democratic values and his plans for reform. Got flat windows, kind of stuffy in here. Reformists democratize our current broken system. If we lose power as the government, we won't be able to execute necessary changes for the good of our country. It may create issues for us. However, with the reformists gaining more popularity, we may not be in a position to stand against them. Mr. Richter managed to influence many members of the Assembly to give their support for drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Friends Richter. I'm not willing to agree that we need change, but we should be in charge. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly. Party must fall in line with our position in the near future. We can't have a strong divide. It's definitely key. Reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers, ensure that the Supreme Court is independent, take away their right to vote on constitutional amendments. Support the reformists. We need a proper balance of power. Let's listen to their demands. I'm gonna say this one. Because I need to keep this power, you see? But, I can't just overtly say that. Just say that. Better not to go against the wind of change that is raging around the country at the moment. The old guards will do their best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have a great influence over the Supreme Court, which would be tough to break. The court also has an abrupt power over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we can't even change it. Comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. Break the power of the Supreme Court one way or another. I'd rather not go against them. Yeah. Review enactments before and after. Validate whole laws. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that is ripe for corruption. Holy shit. Supreme Court gets to decide what laws are made. And, like, reviews them before and after. And, like, fuck. That's busted. Take away their vote in constitutional legislation. It's absurd that an unelected branch gets to vote for bills. Got a lot of challenges ahead, but we'll figure it out. Party still holds 130 out of 250 seats in the Assembly. That is power. However, to reform the Constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equates to 6. Wait, how many people are on the Supreme Court? Guessing 10. 2/3. Oh, okay, 9. 9 people on the Supreme Court. After we've settled our thoughts on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. First goal must be to get the 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders, see if they would back our draft, and then the last step is convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities for a new constitution as soon as possible. Reformist new constitution give the president wide-ranging powers to lead Swordland in the future. Work with the old guard to protect our existing extensive powers. That. It's very bold, and we must start with eliminating the Supreme Court's authority over constitutional legislation, maybe take their immunity away. We also need to address the loopholes regarding the presidential vetoes to keep the balance for such an act. It'll be looked at in detail. Expect reform is rebalancing the power balance between the executive, legislature, and judiciary. It does include strengthening the legislative body by giving them a chance to override vetoes, as well as ensuring that the judiciary is independent. Can't we avoid strengthening the legislative? Peter looks troubled. It'd be very difficult to explain that case to the reformists. Taking the legislative power of the Supreme Court but holding your own absolute authority over legislation would look like a power grab. We would lose all reformist support. We can package it as a democratic reform. Public might be persuaded, but the reformists in the Assembly are not going to fall for that. Trying to paint me as yet another strong man trying to grab more power for himself. Yeah, the real problem is judiciary. However, most people will not be persuaded by that. It'd be tough to reach 166 voters needed to propose such a bill. Let's be burning bridges to the reformists and the old guard. Yeah. According to the initial draft we made with the reformists, 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open for their discussion. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendment. Second, the president's absolute veto will be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes. Yeah, that's fine. I'd imagine limited veto is just, it's either I can only do a number of them, or either a number of them, or like the legislative can go and like fight it, something like that. Form a reform committee together with all parties and start reaching out to the stakeholders in the assembly and the court for a new constitution. More information about the request of each party's and reform contents will be available later this year. Another important point, we must be aware about the Lotharberg group. The oligarchs convene under this group to influence economic policies. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. They will surely try to bribe us for their special economic interests. As far as I know, Simon Hall has some ties to this group, and we may try to use his influence if we deem it necessary. Just optimistic. We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power players in order to survive our term. And then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch. See you in the next meeting, Lucien and Tom. News! Committee for Reforms. Great ceremony. Thousands of participants ceremony where President Reigns met with his supporters for the first time after his election. In his inauguration, Reigns spoke of unity, bringing focus on people's rights for a free and prosperous life. For many generations, this country and its long history have kept us tied to an idea, the idea of unity, said the new president before he went on to start his first day in the Maroon Palace. Speaker Gloria Torrey said that a committee which includes all three political parties of the Assembly has been formed for the preparation of potential changes to the Constitution. The committee has been asked to submit a comprehensive report to find a solution for the current problematic state of affairs in the government and the governmental institutions. The USP wants to appeal to the people of Swordland to help in maintaining stability and order in the state. Details of the committee regarding its actual topics and members have not been clarified. Graduating from the Sword of State, was elected as president of the United States Organization. Supported the democratic revolutionaries and was credited for organizing several major student rallies during officers of the Sword Monarchy. The Assembly, she worked in several jobs, including lobbying firm and a school of perfect speaking and debating. Special advisor, strong friend. Instruction in the Assembly of some of its policies, charismatic politician and tough negotiator. Major lobbying instance with the USP, which shifted the political landscape during the last decade. Election speaker for the second time. Sworn to the office of Chief Justice Orson Walker. A great win for the USP and some rain, managed to get 37% general vote. General vote, PFJP didn't concede until the last minute, but the results were clear since that final was in. Supporters gathered in the streets of Hullsword, chanting campaign slogans, waving flags, and displaying USB party banners to display unwavering support. Elected president. Public mood is very positive in the capital from all accounts on the ground. The city is celebrating that Hullswordian has become president of Swordland. Duty. Just a lot of results, a lot of election results. Oh shit. Got fucking footy going on. Anything no matter 500,000. I saw it from the assembly. How many times do people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Colonel Sol, who was supposedly saving this country and brought stability in times of chaos. His stability, however, meant a life of oppression. Any opposing voices were silenced and many were persecuted. Next was Alfonso, who was elected as the liberal reformer to bring change to the USP and Swordland. Seeing his unfortunate inability, his own cabinet resigned. As the third USP candidate becomes president, it's high time to realize that real change won't come from their party. And fuck you. Structure the infrastructure. Several recent successful mega infrastructure projects from the United Continent. Sled. Well, I was warming up to the idea of a source of growth and employment. Is there any truth to this success? Infrastructure investments can be fruitful in the short term, but even more so in the long term. Especially focus on linking economic nodes that business logistics. Yes, build roads to allow trade to happen. Then just end the economic model of yeah, that guy. Foreign policy analysts who are reviewing the recent military and developments of Rumberg come to the conclusion that it's highly likely that Rumberg will keep trying to push further south, threatening the territories of Swordland, Wayland, probably Angola. Agnolia. Acquisition of Dome many years ago was just the beginning. Brooks seems to be on a quest to secure all strategic resources in the Okay. Oh. Okay. These are the laws. Constitutional amendments require an assembly of at least 150 signatures, 2/3 majority vote in the Grand National Assembly, and a simple majority vote in the Supreme Court required for the amendments. Article 99 of the new Constitution defines the Member of Honor title, its appointment procedure, as well as the rights their members may exercise. Member of Honor has absolute immunity and is a permanent member of the Grand National Assembly. He or she is entitled to his security team provided by the state's presidential guards. The member is also eligible to live in a special private residence provided by the state for free. So, like, I get the security feature of that. Yeah, absolute immunity. I can commit what. That's why that one guy got into the Alvarez down there. He got into politics because, hey, fucking. If I become a politician, I am exempt from all crimes or all litigation. It's absolute immunity, permanent member of the assembly, titled to their security. Yeah, just that can be exploited. Immunity of justices. Justices of the Supreme Court are not responsible for the actions performed in the exercise of their duties. So it's just, I supported a law that committed crimes, but that doesn't mean I go to jail. No term limits for presidents, but they still have to be re-elected every time, so I think that's fine. Because once they're not re-elected, then everyone should forget about them forever. Agrees on political, social, and economic issues that would carry the force of law, however, they could not contradict the Constitution and are subjected to judicial review. Assembly may pass legislation on the same subjects to override presidential decrees. So, executive orders, as long as it doesn't contradict an already existing law and doesn't violate, like, isn't just blatantly illegal, then I can do whatever the fuck I want. Threshold of 10%. According to Article 50 of the new Constitution, a political party needs a minimum of 10% of the total national vote to win seats in the Grand National Assembly. Votes of the parties who pass the threshold are redistributed proportionally. So, yeah. Political party, yeah. That's how political parties get into the whole assembly. President appoints the ministers to the Council of Ministers from the elected members of the Assembly. I don't know what the Council of Ministers is. Might be the cabinet, I'm not sure. The President is not responsible for the actions performed in the exercise of presidential duties, except in the case of high treason or violations of the Constitution. In such cases, the President may be impeached by the Supreme Court in a joint session with an absolute majority of its members. And then, okay. The President may veto a bill by returning it to the Assembly with a written statement. Okay. Also, the law, the British Freedom Front is not allowed to hold office. It's still hilarious. Forum Committee has been formed to discuss the possibilities of a new constitution with all parties in the government. And then, current situations. Swordsland enjoys a mostly free right of communication and expression through the media, okay? We have some human rights. Can the people have a little human rights as a treat? Violations still exist to the extent of law enforcement powers. Oh no. Supreme Court and the Ministry of Justice are in a political, legal, and constitutional rivalry about who has the higher legal authority. Swordsland has a complicated relationship with the millions of Bludish people living inside its borders. The Bludish people don't get the same treatment as Swords. Women in Swordsland suffer from extreme sexism both in the workplace and at home. Law bans any girls to learn natural science, social science, and the likes. They are always paid less comparing to their male counterpart. At home, they have no legal protection in the case of abusive husbands. Holy shit. Granted, this is the 50s. And then just a backlog. This legal system is causing delays, injustices, but just late responses. The economy. Alphonsonomics. Swordsland's economy has been based on a planned doctrine since its formation until the former president, called Alfonso, enacted free market reforms. Now we already started that one. So, productions have stagnated. Lack of investment, England, economy is going down because they just don't have enough money. Yeah, it's the same. It's all the same. It's just deciding pluralities or commas. Unsuccessful attempts to solidify trade, combined with the recession, caused a decrease in trade volume. Serious tax evasion practices are exercised by important businesses in other parts of the populace. How dare they and not be me? Huge unemployment. Okay. Weak transportation links. Yeah, that's bad infrastructure. Military. The Gendarmerie under defense. Gendarmerie is an armed law enforcement organization which maintains security and public order. Primarily focuses on rural security, but can be deployed to assist. Okay, so that's like the National Guard, or yeah, no, that's just the cops. Gendarmerie, yeah, that's just cops, and they can be assisting cities by mayors, the SWAT teams, and all that shit. Of course, general staff's a military planning body, compromise the top generals, and the compulsory military service. Once you get 18, we send you a letter and you gotta serve. Military actively interferes in the political landscape. Yeah, wow, what a fucking surprise there. Outdated military equipment, decades-old equipment in the armed forces are negatively affecting the combat capabilities. Okay, you can get everybody some new guns. Internal security jurisdiction. Ministry of Defense has the right to exercise security inside Swordsland due to the Gendarmerie. Yeah, I can see how that one's yellow. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it could turn bad. The generals are very good at their jobs, and we have a large pool to draw from in times of war. Educational institutions have the freedom to teach either creationism or evolution. Okay? That's fine. You know, you're allowed to choose what you want to teach just as much as you're allowed to choose what you want to learn. Voluntary vaccination policy, allowing the citizens to choose for themselves and their kids to be vaccinated or not. We're shutting that one down. And welfare principles. The welfare principles which laid out that the state shall give welfare services by the Renan aristocracy are being questioned. I don't know about that one. Welfare system is overburdened due to a lack of funds and political mismanagement, causing the system to crack. And it's also, we're like in a recession, so there's a lot of people on it. Underdeveloped rural parts of Swordland suffer from low quality healthcare services, little to no hygiene. They spelled hygiene wrong, that is supposed to be a Y, causing illness and death. Accessibility to education remains a huge issue in rural Swordland, with schools long distance away from small villages and towns. Yeah, that's just we need to build more schools. Differences between certain governments have caused serious inconsistencies in the curriculum. Yeah, I fucking bet it does. Like every 4 years, you gotta change all the history books because the new guy's in charge, and he says, oh yeah, by the way, the last president was the devil. Schools and universities providing a solid understanding are our founding father, heart and soul. Our future citizens will be loyal subjects to the state. Okay, again, not necessarily a bad thing, but if you get bad government in place, then it's like, yeah, they're loyal no matter what to the bad things. We're the baddies now. Developed urban areas of Swordland have well-funded welfare institutions. Yeah. Order. Security apparatus and sorely enjoy extensive privileges in society, which is widespread corruption, systemic inefficiencies, and damaging the rule of law. Swordland has not decided on how to handle the increased immigration, leaving loopholes in the system that tend to be exploited, and there's criminals like the Coronelli and Skinner cartel. And diplomacy. Challenges of foreign policy to not align with or against the power bloc. Organization for more open economic cooperation stimulates economic progress and increased continental trade. Alliance of Nations is a global organization that maintains peace, security, and cooperation among nations. Expansionist doctrine of Rumburg in the last century has caused a highly volatile situation on the Mercopa continent. Swordland lacks strong allies to secure its independence and prominent role on the international stage, so I need to make some friends. Many economic experts of the founding OMEC members were of Swordish descent, thus Swordland is a key member, and we got good diplomats. Okay. Still need the... yeah, it's views on the need for democratic reform. The government structure has changed over the last decade. The form is propaganda from the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter. This resulted in a massive increase in demands for democratic reforms, estimated that currently 55% of the population supports the reformist ideals. And got a lot of homeless. Likely to increase by 25%. Jesus. Homeless. British people, homelessness increased by 72% in just 6 years. Homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached the highest level in more than a decade. Glutish minority of the region now account for up to 47% of all homeless people. Fuck. Okay. I have determined what my character will be. Oh, hello. Hello, Mr. Letter. I am going to save this country and also save my bank account. I'm gonna do everything right and also make sure I am lavishly wealthy. Simon Hall. Do just the economy. Gus Manger. And Lilius Graph. I'm mostly going down to the last paragraph because it's like, here's what they... large conservative support. Arrive at the White Room for our scheduled economy meetings. The room in the Maroon Palace where all the important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a projector. They stood with it by the door, waiting for the minister to enter. In the hallway, I heard Lilius Graff's voice. She's using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments. Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of an investment than England? Lilius, my interior minister, strode in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige, the only spot of color a bright yellow Neuris star on her necklace. Gus followed close behind. Don't be an idiot, Lilius. What about the unemployment crisis in the greater Horseland and Gelsland regions they're going through? These areas are our economic heartland. Gus curled his hands into fists. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development's temper hadn't changed since his days in the Alfonso administration, but neither had his reputation for getting things done. His far-reaching network of connections was unlike any other. Simon Hill quickly stepped between the two ministers without looking at either of them. He cleared his throat. Good morning, Mr. President. What's this debate about? Just a disagreement in internal economic strategy, President Rain. Not sure if I would call it just a disagreement, Lilius. Could you enlighten me, Gus? Mr. Graff seeks to focus our economic development in a region where we can't reap financial benefits. Business leaders are requesting better logistical links in order to contribute to the economy more. A wise idea if your main agenda is to make money instead of developing the region and serving the people. Could you elaborate? The argument is simple. England is our weakest region, both in terms of economic and social support. We should support the city of Arborea and its respected mayor. How impartial can you really be? What are your thoughts, Simon? I have to say that I agree with both of them. England is in need of investment, and we can improve Greater Horseland and Gelsland. I want to avoid this topic now, since we will talk about it in the future. I would rather first fully brief you on our current economic situation. So, pulled a silk handkerchief out of his pocket and briefly wiped his glasses. Staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of... He was interrupted by a groan from one of the assistants at the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector. Oh, you can put that there. He pointed below the paint of the president's soul. The assistants placed the projector next to the table and installed a white screen on the wall. Leave now. I mean, thank you, and please leave now. Assistants left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, but his facility with numbers had made him the most sought-after economic specialist in Switzerland. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documentation around with him. Elias leaned to the table and spoke. Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estford? While going through his briefcase, he paused for a moment to answer. It got stalled due to a government property boundary issue. I have been meaning to look at it. I can take a look at that one. Estford needs all the security help it can get. Sure. More time for me to spend on analyses. His eyes glittered when he finally found the slides he was looking for. There have been some developments about the Sortish Wren losing further value today. We have been trying to stabilize it with the central bank. Oh, okay. It's my cabinet. Have me another drink. Old. The oligarchs. I hate them. I want to be them. Legislative. Okay, there's 11 seats. Garnachi, Isabel Edmonds, Morga. Session of 51 put enormous pressure on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the value of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration. What would you like to know about the current economic situation? GDP and debt. Current GDP is 310 billion Swedish ren. National debt is 427 billion. So if I can make 117 billion ren, then we're back in the green. Fathom we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth. The past 3 years were tough. Unemployment and inflation rates. Employment has skyrocketed, is now at a staggering 16%. Inflation is a relative high of 7%. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets. Inflation isn't helping our average citizen either. And the recession. The economy has been in a recession of about negative 6% in the past year. GDP has dropped from SR 15,454 per capita to 10,359 from 1951 to now. Administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better. Alright. Then he scattered the paper stack in front of him in an orderly manner and took a final note at his nose before clearing his throat. As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Alfonso left us a large budget surplus used to stabilize the crisis. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general path we will take in our term. Solonomics-based nationalism happened in the 30s, and Alfonso's privatization began during the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote a free market economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I believe it is the only way out of the recession. I still do not support it. Why promote the private sector when you have qualified state-owned enterprises? Because the lack of competition has made them inefficient. Consequences of the free market. Not many, but one would say that we are much more likely to be influenced by the world economy. It's important to think of this subject because the upswings of the world economy will reflect good on ours too. And when the global economy crashes, we go down with it. Structural problems of Solonomics were going to lead to a recession according to the predictions at the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we maintain the option to make economic choices on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic economic plan. Finally, something we can agree on. There's another important point which has a direct impact on our economy. Superpowers. Fucking Superman ruining my economy. This is bullshit. I will not stand for it. He needs to go in a hole and turn a crank to give us unlimited free energy. We might have won the election, but I am still against aligning ourselves with any superpowers. Economically speaking, we are much more closer to Arcasia than United Contenta, so a decision to align to the west makes more sense. Just be cautious. There are schemes being devised about Swordsman. We cannot give in to their wants now or in the future, otherwise our country will turn into a pawn. Reconsider your promise to align with Arcasia. Okay, boost our powers in ways. I will not let them control us. So isn't simply a partnership, a very valuable one at that. Favorable for Arcasia, maybe not for Swordland. Simply untrue. When the time comes, I hope we will make the right decision for our own good. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Minister Whiskey will be in charge of informing you on these types of foreign policy decisions. We must first decide on our internal economic plan. Forward a legal document outlining the possibilities of both economic doctrines listed. Cabinet members look to me. It's on a long-term schedule, picking a construction company, trade relations, tax reform, privatization initiatives would be some of them. Sticking to a solid planned economy strategy would be the right call. 5-year plans were fruitful in the past. Free market focus, bring us stronger allies. Make Arcasia look at our country in a more positive light. Their forms of free market economy. The influence Arcasia has in the world economy is extensive. Economic strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though. Yeah, just stick with capitalism. The recession was a direct result of his free market reforms. History must note that the reason for the recession was because Ewald Alfonso was betrayed by his party. That is not true. There's plenty of time for him to do it. If you can't make change happen in 2 years, then you are at fault. Let's move on. What are your final thoughts, then? Critical institutions must remain in state control. Dealing with privatization. Market economy doesn't require as much guidance and can help us attract foreign capital. Yeah. You could be, and it wouldn't be negative, but either way, you make the choices. So what will our general economic plan promote? Yeah, free market economy as promised. Now, if there is clarity on which direction we are heading, I'm working a good plan accordingly. Concludes our meeting, and our next gathering we will talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment plan. Oh, there's a lot of things now. The collapse of the tourism industry at Link has led to reductions in trade traffic and road maintenance. The road network is currently in service, but in need of substantial improvement. Ports, country, is just we need better roads. Record low temperature of 29. It's cold. The part by a group of right-wing extremists suspected of being rebels of the local National Front Party office. Group inflicted injuries to his legs and arms. Man was brought to the hospital after making his way to a nearby property. Police observers said it was a brutal attack for which there was no justification. There's no place for attacks such as this in our society. Called for unity and urged restraint. Pocket radio. Investments. Rich people. Fuck them. Alright. Railways. Yeah. Just need better railroads. 3 years agricultural output of Sarna has increased. We get to both a drop in temperatures and new farming practices. Additionally, farmers are now accessing more generous credit allowances from the government that were left over from the Alfonso administration. This region has potential to become a powerhouse in the future if investments persist, so keep investing in Sarna. Okay, I was doing that as a joke, but I would not be able to remember what that said. And more unemployment in Morna. Yeah. Actually, I have a pretty big country here. Damn. Alright, we got some media strategy and invest in mega infrastructure. The economy put forward 2 bold plans for mega infrastructure projects that would help with the economic recession in the long term. Investing in projects of this scale would take up some portion of the budget, but could prove worthwhile if accomplished successfully. I will come back to that. Cannot come back to it. Okay. Doing it, yeah. Yeah, It's like everybody is complaining like we need better infrastructure, so like obviously get them better infrastructure. Let's do the media strategy. Lucian and Peter arrived at my office to talk about recent developments in the media strategy. Both took their seats across from me. Lucian put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucian and nodded. Let's begin. First of all, Lucian, you mentioned that Marcel Caronti contacted you. Media proprietor, bachelor's degree. That's the media guy. It's our fucking Rockefeller or whatever. Carontis had always been known as one of the richest, most influential families in Swordland. Marcel Caronti was no exception. Oldest son of Conrad Caronti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, part of Swordland. Richest man in the entirety of Swordland. Lucian turned to me. He has offered to meet with you, Mr. President. What does he want? What is he sending him? Sending a son. Unfortunately, he passed away today. Well, after passing of his father, rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. Mention a productive collaboration. They are a powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Swordland Today newspaper, the Swordland Broadcasting Corporation, which means it would be wise to have them by our side. Sorry for interrupting. What does this productive collaboration entail? I do not wish to explain the details over the phone, but rather in person. I believe I'll be receiving a call from him sometime soon. However, as Peter said, they have substantial power over the content of media outlets, headlines, radio shows. That is what he would be offering. What he wants in return is what we need to understand. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to the media. I have far less expertise in the matter, but very interesting arguments were made by Lucian at the preparation meeting yesterday. There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantages, and the other is keeping it independent. Yeah, keep the media independent. Yeah. An unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. It is of utmost importance to maintain the public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals or mistakes. I must stress one thing, Mr. President. The more people we have on our side supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish. With someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily. I see what you're getting at. Agree with Lucian, but isn't there another way to avoid these issues? You can always hope for the best. Do we really think that nothing can go wrong? Especially considering the near-term history of Swordland? Livia. It's my secretary, who's got the great big talents. Dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Galati's secretary has been calling me and wanted to relay a message. Marcel Caronti, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Galati. Ball's in our court. Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to? Let's do it. It's a pleasure, Mr. Caronti. Pleasure's all mine. Your time is valuable, so I'll not waste any of it. I was just elected to be the CEO of HOS. My strategy is in the running of this conglomerate will be different than my father's approach. This is why I'm offering a partnership deal regarding our media branch. I'd like to formally invite you to my resort near Conriad for a meeting to discuss the details. And what does that entail? Feature as partners, Mr. President. Surely we can't talk about the details on the phone. I just wish to have a face-to-face conversation with you. Send the details to my secretary if you are interested. Sure. I'll take the meeting. Doesn't mean I got to agree to anything. I just banged my bottle on the desk. Sorry about that. Goodbye. Set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month. So then, looking forward to the meeting next month. Looks like we ran out of time for today. We'll continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. Good work with Marcel. Keep it up. Getting the attention of key and potentially dangerous figures. News! Conrad Caronti is dead. Figure of success, respect, and wealth. His son takes over his title.
Some elites gather for our lavish state ball. Many citizens of the country are uncertain about their own future, but the state has no problems wasting taxpayers' money right from the start. Demand these traditions of wasteful nature will become a thing of the past once the president settles in. The team here at the Radical will keep fighting for a better, more equal tomorrow for all. I can dig it. Reign administration starts its first term. There's a question in all of our heads. What will be the regional international trade policy? The strategic geopolitical location. Swordland, historically, and Nolian, blah, 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 blah. We deal with one of them. Yeah. No. How was that? Got a reports and a campaign finance bill. Reform Committee reports that any potential change to the Constitution in the direction of the reformists will likely result in strong opposition from the National Front Party. Whereas the Assembly and support such direction seem to be great numbers and possibly make a majority of the Grand National Assembly, most members of the United Swordland Party seem reluctant about supporting such changes. Right. Well. No. Yeah. Go ahead and do this one now. View towards the Marquian Sea from Lachaben was nothing short of exquisite. Seaside state residence, fittingly named the Blue Mansion, was large, fine, and accommodating. Enjoying the luxurious mansion wasn't the main reason of our visit. We gathered the economic team here to discuss the new infrastructure investment project. Half an hour had already passed since the start of the meeting. Unfortunately, I didn't even have the chance to have my usual afternoon coffee. Looking at the view from the windows, I let my mind drift for a couple of seconds. Simon's voice brought me back to the ongoing discussion. Mr. President, we need to focus on boosting the economy as quickly as possible. One of the fastest ways to achieve this is through infrastructure projects. Agreed. On the one hand, businessmen are complaining about the slow logistical rail network between Woolsword and Lachaben. So I started talking as soon as Simon took a breath. On the other hand, citizens are criticizing the lack of a proper highway connection between Lachaben and Arbory. Narrow roads by the seaside are not only dangerous, but also difficult to traverse. Yeah, the citizens' economies are, like, especially, like, you know, I just set up a free market economy. Those are built on the backbone of the regular people, the people who actually spend the money. So you do whatever you can to make them happy and able to go to work and purchase things. Their demands are just. The dire situation of the road infrastructure between Lachaben and Arbory can't be neglected. Return on investment will be low. Our concern should be economic growth. It's not the business people that suffer, but the ordinary folk. What really matters, though, is that we can accomplish something tangible in your first economic act. Yeah. This one. Therefore, I define two important projects for your attention. The H3 Highway Project and the L1 High-Speed Railway Project. Mr. Hull repositioned himself in the chair to take a more comfortable posture. The Ministry can only support one project at a time with the current capacity and budget. Let's move on to the details of each. The H3 Highway. The H3 project aims to improve the abysmal state of the road network in England, region bordering Angnolia. The area is home to several million Angno-Sordish, and Sordish who feel neglected. There are no proper highway connections to and from England. The mayor of Arbory, Eric Neal, has been asking for a bigger budget to develop the regional infrastructure. He told us that even trucks are having a hard time traveling from the main roads. The increased traffic is causing trouble for people commuting in and out of the region. Cumbersome. It is, bless their souls, I'm happy we're thinking like a matter. The map. The map, he's pointing to Lavachen. That's the Los Angeles equivalent. H3 route starts here, leads to Linkberg, and from there it goes all the way to Arbory. I see. So we can get a road and Right up there, fill in the black and white there. As a result, the road network towards the Angolian capital Stalport will improve substantially. So the central government continuously neglect the Agno-Sordish-dominated regions while now is mayor. Is this administration going to continue that kind of negligence? I am for all sort of citizens without separation or preference, therefore we should think about the country overall. Fuck that guy. Holy shit, Dad. It has to be pointed out that the highway would be less beneficial in the near term. I have to disagree, it will increase the speed of transportation throughout the region. Citizens will be quite pleased that we successfully accomplished this. Besides, if we entertain talks with Agnolia, they would see the investment as a positive sign. And let's see what the other project. Mr. Alfonso has failed in delivering this campaign promise, but we can start the construction of this groundbreaking railway project. As you know, our current trains cannot meet the standards of today. As many other countries adopt this new electric engine technology to power up their trains, we fall one step behind. Reports about the newest trains in United Cantanta, traveling at incredible speeds, has piqued the business interest. They too want to transport resources and material from Holsor to Lachben with great speed and efficiency. This should be our priority: growth and development optimization. Plan is to upgrade the old L1 line from Holsor to Lachben. It will transform to a high-speed rail. Sword. Plan construction starts here at the capital. Go to Enrica first. And connect to Gelsword. And then, yeah, so, boom. L1 will significantly boost the economy on the newly linked cities, even the rural areas in between. Lachben is our primary port, so the goods unloaded there will be transported to Holsword much faster. Yeah, link the rural areas together. Makes sense. Talking about the wealthiest regions and forgetting about Anglin, which needs the mayor of Enrica, Curtin Leste. Let's request this project to be prioritized. Businessmen in the region will be very content with increases investments and employment. Therefore, I recommend the L1 high-speed rail project. Final choice. The H3 project, improve the infrastructure in the poorer regions. Negotiations will begin in the middle of this year. Be able to award the contract to the corporation by choice. Ministry estimates that the entire construction will finish in 2 years if every step going forward is executed successfully. Thank you all for your... anything else? We all see you soon. Have a nice day. Evening settled on the beautiful coastline of Lachben. Alright. Got more shit. For anybody just... yeah. That... like... allowing people to travel easier, they'll be able to get to work. It's gonna do nothing bad. Yeah, you gotta fix the roads. Campaign finance bill. Finance bill. Criteria for the allocation of public funds shall no longer be according to the number of votes won in the general election by a political party. The new criteria shall be the proportion of seats run by a political party in the assembly. Political parties shall receive an annual amount of 500,000 ren per member of the assembly. This results in a doubling of the USP election budget and a slight increase in the other parties in the assembly, while effectively removing all funding from parties that are below the 10% election threshold. Yeah. Yeah, that's... yeah.
Campaign finance bill has been signed into law by President Rain with the approval of the General Assembly by majority vote on Friday following a 3-hour debate. Prince Richter, who objected to the funding package, saying it contained too much unfairness in the allocation of the budget, was sought to delay proceedings by demanding a formal recorded vote, but was overruled. The new law brings small changes to the criteria. The new law that further expands on the unfairness of our election system has been approved by the Grand National Assembly and was signed into law by President Rain. The new law changes the rules of eligibility of the public funds that are reserved for every political party in Sortland. Previously, the funds were given on the basis of the number of votes in the general elections. With these changes, the funds will be given on the basis of the number of seats the political party holds, which eliminates every party apart from the 3 that are currently in the Assembly. This insane law also results in governing United Sortland's party's share from the funds to increase double. As Anton Rain's presidency begins, we at the Radical are already smelling the rot. Yeah, I did it. I got myself more money. That was my plan this whole time. Oh, that's a bad thing. Whoops. Don't care. Money. That's my bag. Canadian company stocks. Personal investment opportunity delayed by Mr. Manger, an experienced stockbroker in Ventry City. Acacia is selling valuable shares of Armandi Industries, upcoming elections manufacturing company. We can invest or let the opportunity pass. Goodbye, all my personal wealth. Hello, soon to be a lot of personal wealth. God, I fucking hope. Ugh. I don't remember what the settings were. Reception at the inaugural ball. Just finished buttoning up my suit jacket when the doorbell rang. The presidential guard had arrived to pick us up for the inaugural ball. It was a 3-decade-old tradition, ruthlessly anticipated by politicians, bureaucrats, and the press. All eyes were about to be on me. Called on Monica to get the children ready. Oh, that's my wife. That's what she looks like. First Lady of Swordland. Fidelity, social worker, partnerships manager, artist, campaign assistant, Swords League of Women before getting married. I could get the children ready. Look in the mirror, I straightened my tie and took a deep breath. After tonight, there would be no turning back. Suddenly, Diana hugged me from behind, startling me a little. Monica had fixed her hair into an elaborate braid woven through with ribbons. Papa, Mama told me it's time to go. Elementary school. Named after her grandmother who came in the 1860s to Sortland from Magnolia with hopes to start a new life. Freddie, where's your brother? Frank is still upstairs. Currently studying at the Bull Sword Markian High School. It's almost time to leave. The big ball was starting in less than an hour. Where's my first lady? She's wearing a simple yet elegant beige sheath dress and short heels. Her hair had been neatly pinned into a chignon, showing off the pearl earrings I had given her for our 15th anniversary. All those years, she had stayed by my side. Now we were about to begin the most challenging chapter in our lives yet. How do you do, Mr. President? Just stand there and look at her. Oh, you look as gorgeous as the day we met. I like the idea of just a little bit of like flirtation with your wife, like looking her up and down. All right, where's my son? There's the charm that got you elected. Yeah. Yeah. Frank, get in here and look at how hot your mother is. This thing itches. Frank tugged at the collar of his new tuxedo. He seemed ill at ease. Glad to have you with us. Sure, Dad, I'm just dying to go. Papa, are these the people going to be around us from now on? Presidential guards. Most important family needs extra protection. These people are our friends. It's alright, baby. They're here to make sure nothing bad happens to your papa or his family. Flanked by the guards, walk out the door. Halfway to the car. They spell... It's supposed to have a C. See? He stopped abruptly and turned towards me. Do I really have to go? Couldn't I just stay home instead? Nervous myself, but I feel a lot more confident with my son by my side. It's a party thrown for me. Don't you want to support your father? There'll be plenty of pretty girls to dance with. Just... The presidential guard showed us the way as red and blue lights flashed around us. Sergei, my driver, ushered us into our armored limousine. The motorcade started moving towards the palace. I gazed out the window, deep in thought. Anton, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Nice car, right? All that's been happening, I wonder if I made the right choice. Just we've come a long way together, haven't we? This we have, and there's still so much that we'll accomplish side by side. Just remember, no matter what happens, the children and I will always be there for you. I'm going to help Papa fix everything. Frank rolled his eyes. I know you will, honey. We'll see. For what seemed like just a few minutes, the convoy slowed to a halt. Sergei rolled down the limousine's soundproof partition. Here we are, sir. Hope you enjoyed the drive. Much appreciated. How are you doing today? I'm just as good as I can be, but today is your day, sir. I'm just glad you're in charge now. You know, my entire family voted for you. Thank you and your family. I'm here with all of your support. No reason to thank me, sir. You're the one who sparked a glimmer of hope in us all. Sergei opened the door for me. The normally imposing palace was festooned with garish banners that nearly made it look cheerful. A line of shiny luxury sedans stretched around it. Politicians, bureaucrats, and celebrities, the creme de la creme of the Swordland elite, streamed inside the building. Good luck out there, Mr. President. See you on the trip home. Stepped out and immediately found myself surrounded by loud voices and camera flashes. Hordes of eager journalists thrust their portable microphones my way. My guards fended off, most of them off. One woman managed to dodge them and corner me. I recognized the Swordfish Broadcasting Company logo on her press lanyard. Sorry, I'm sending a text. Mr. President, Mr. President, do you plan on working together with the opposition parties on the expected constitutional reforms? Administration can bring real change. It's not a celebration. I'm not going to talk about my politics now. If the opposition is willing to support us, Mr. Richter clarified that as long as you support their demands of democratization, they will work with you on all issues with a cooperative spirit. What do you think about this statement? Welcome it. This is a challenge for us all. The other parties will join him in this endeavor. Honestly, I don't expect much from him. Can't comment since I haven't seen his statement yet. Question. One of your first acts as president was to sign campaign finance law allocating public election funds by seats in the assembly as opposed to a number of votes. Is this a deliberate attempt to defund the Communist Party and the Blue Deer Workers' Party, neither of which have reached the election threshold? I have had it with your questions! Guards! Send her to the dungeon! That's enough, ma'am, said one of my guards while nudging the reporter away from me. The path through the crowd was now open, and we quickly made our way to the entrance of the palace. At the same time, a dozen fireworks went off. The entrance was decorated with beautiful ribbons in Swordland's colors of white, yellow, and maroon. A lush maroon carpet had been rolled down the stairs. We entered the lobby, and I don't know if that got picked up, but it was just far outside, and I had no window open, so I guess it was extra loud. We entered the lobby and joined the throngs of people making their way towards the ballroom. Behind me, I heard a familiar voice. There they are, the most beautiful family in Swordland. Uncle Peter! Hi, Uncle Peter. It's great to see you. You two are growing faster than I am getting wiser. You sure you gotten any wiser, Peter? Maybe not. After all, I'm still sticking with you. Happy to see a familiar face, Peter. Evelyn. Peter's wife Evelyn approached us and shook our hands with a firmness that belied her delicate features. Congratulations, Anton. I have to say, the results were clear to me from the beginning. Each man means long. Thank you. We both worked hard. There's a woman behind every successful man. Shows both worked. Yeah, just thanks. Pleasure's mine. It's time to celebrate this victory. Hope you'll show the same enthusiasm on the job. That's why we're here. Of course I will. You know me, I work as hard as I play. Gave a short smile that looked halfway genuine. He seemed uncomfortable. Monica, how are you? You barely said a word. More than relieved to have this roller coaster ride over with, but of course now the real work begins. Ah yes, managing the help, planning parties, daily trips to the salon to look your best for foreign dignitaries. Don't be so old-fashioned, Evelyn. I plan to use my power as First Lady to advance the position of women throughout Swordland. Equal rights for our sex are long overdue, wouldn't you say, Anton? As long as you don't burn the roast, am I right? Broads. Thinking they can think. Papa, can we go? I want to see the ballroom. Yeah, let's go. Ballroom. We left the lobby and made our way towards the ballroom. Inside, we were yet again surrounded by a noisy crowd. But this time, it was the politicians who sought to appease the new authority in Swordland. Spent the next few hours shaking hands, joining various conversations, some serious, some superficial. Yeah, and making speeches. I'm just as bored as this guy. Finally settled down at our dinner table with the Vecturns as the band started playing some slow jazz tunes. Oof, that was tiring. You have to get used to it, you're already tired, another drink. Shake another fucking hand. Well, suddenly a loud banging noise echoed from outside the ballroom, then another one, and another. The musicians stopped playing. Everyone in the room was looking around in confusion. Peter and I turned towards each other, realization dawning on both of our faces. Fireworks? No! Gunshots! Oh my god! You can't see it, but I'm doing the Home Alone hands on the face thing. And I'm squishing my cheeks. Oh no, it's going too far. Why don't I have a camera? As soon as Monica heard the word, she lunged from her seat. Shield my family. Papa, what's happening? I knew it. We never should have gone. Chaos broke out as some guests flung themselves under their tables, and others ran towards the door, screaming. Deanna burst into tears while Frank tried to comfort her, hiding the fear in his own eyes. That's a good brother. That's a good older brother. 3 more gunshots rang out loudly. Mr. President, are you all right? Carl Greiser, head of the Swordfish police force, was running towards us, 3 more police officers in decorated uniforms. They all had their guns drawn. As soon as he made it to us and saw that we were unharmed, he let out a big sigh of relief. Thank God. Status report. 1 second, Mr. President. Turn around quickly to his men. Check the perimeter now. Paul, Jansen, follow my lead. We will bring them to the safe room. Turned to Monica, Evelyn, and the children and spoke in softer voices. Do not worry, the situation is now under control. Please follow me. We promptly followed Carl through the winding halls and corridors of the palace. His men still had their guns drawn, which did nothing to ease the tension. On the way, Pete made an attempt to break the silence. What a fucking night. It's not over yet. Carl turned to us with a serious face as we were about to round a corner. Quiet, please. Sorry, I talk when I get nervous. Peter, shut up. Carl flipped a switch on the wall and a panel opened, revealing a hidden staircase leading to a large reinforced door. Inside, a set of emergency lights flickered on. The safe room was comfortable and spacious, with expensive-looking leather sofas. Small security monitors on the wall displayed grainy footage of each room in the palace. There was a boardroom and a pantry containing enough provisions to last us months. Monica and Evelyn sat the children down and started wiping their tears. Carl stepped away from us and made a few radio calls. When he was done, he turned around to me and Peter. Do I have clowns for a security force? Carl's radio suddenly cracked to life. Every second felt like an eternity as he pressed his ear to the receiver. When it fell silent, he turned to us. Good news, we are not in any danger at the moment. The situation has been dealt with and the perimeter has been secured by the guards and the police. I toward Monica, Evelyn, and the kids. If I may, sir. I gestured towards him in the private corner of the room and started speaking more quietly. This is what we know so far. We have confirmed that 2 people were gunned down in front of the palace. The gunman is one of them, and we are sure that he was working alone. The attacker fired 3 shots at an MP, 1 to the head, 2 to the body, instantly killing him. Presidential guards at the palace immediately shot and killed the attacker. The gunman has not been identified yet and will require an investigation. The MP that was killed was identified as Bernard Circus. Oh. Oh. Oh, that guy. That's the communist that, many people were, finding themselves in support of. This is huge. This is going to cause a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Peter pulled out 2 cigarettes and handed me one. He then turned to Evelyn. Oh, my cat's here. Okay. Alright, I need you to lay down because your butt's blocking the screen. Alright. Peter pulled out 2 cigarettes and handed me one. He then turned to Evelyn. I could hear him trying to reassure her that everything was going to be alright. Monica was still trying to tend to Deanna and as Frank paced the room. Okay, cat, pick a spot, lay down. Mumbling that he should have stayed home. Monica and the kids. Yeah, I'm taking care of my fucking family, dude. You're safe. I will make sure everything's gonna be fine. Because I am not gonna promise that because I can't control that. You're safe. I will make sure everything's going to be fine. Can't be sure of anything anymore, Anton. I lit my cigarette and took a deep drag. I was going to see this through and keep my family safe. At all costs. I will kill everyone in this room to keep my family safe. Crushed his cigarette on the ashtray. Suzerain gave signals about cooperation with Friends Richter of the PFGP ahead of the inauguration ball. Arguing remarks Richter about possible cooperation to fix the problem. I welcome this problem all of us. Sloman vocal about his democratization plans, but maybe his demands for constitutional change might finally become reality if President Rain leads the bill together with him. Rain's first acts in office was to sign a campaign finance law allocating public election funds by a number of assembly seats as opposed to the percentage of votes won in the general election. In an interview ahead of his inauguration ball, Rain admitted this was a deliberate strike against the Workers' Party of Barbuda, Louis, and the Communist Party of Swordland, neither of which would be eligible for funding under the new laws. Both parties would, quote, only make trouble if allowed to grow unchecked, he claimed. I did not say that. That is not what I said. Swordland has been shocked by grave news today as an elected member of parliament has been shot dead in a suspected political assassination. Police sirens were heard around the clock today as the whole sword police force to increase security measures around the capital. No, not even twisted my words. Like, I deliberately said, I did this so that my party would have more power so that we could properly bring democracy to this country. And they're saying, like, oh yeah, they're only going to make trouble if they keep growing unchecked. Like, the game bugged out and thinks I picked the wrong option. The fact that such a violent act happened at the heart of the capital during the New Year President's inauguration celebrations has worried many citizens. The Red Youth has reported to have promised revenge. This seems like it has the potential to spark that would swirl Swordland into political violence of the 1920s. Oh boy. That's bad. Security measures of the capital have been heightened after the murder of Bernard Secres. The mayor of Holsword reports that everything is under control. Security around the Maroon Palace has been increased with the combined efforts of the Holsword Police Department and the Presidential Guard. Additionally, the entrance procedures to the palace are being revised with advice from security professionals. Police Chief Carl Greiser reported that investigation has been launched on the murder of Bernard Circus. Emergency meeting. Situation room. Food in the situation room was gloomy. The cabinet members were gathered to discuss the shooting outside the palace. Elias presented the initial report. Bernard Circus was shot dead at 9:03 p.m. in front of the palace gates. He was an elected independent member of Assembly and, as you know, a famous communist. She spat the last words out with some distaste. The guards at the scene were 50 meters away and immediately took action by responding... Oh, man, hang on. Oh. I was kind of bending my arm, and then, like, the joint in my elbow got stuck for a second. I had to take a minute to stretch it all the way out. Guards at the scene were 50 meters away and immediately took action by responding and killing the assailant, who was identified as a member of the nationalist organization Young Swords. I had the option to join that in college, and I did not because they're Nazis. The President and his family were unharmed, praise God. An MP shot near the palace is absolutely unacceptable, or the motivation of such a hard act. But why male models? Shot near the palace is unacceptable. I agree, we are reevaluating our security measures, however the recession has affected my ministry negatively. Such a dangerous atmosphere where the left versus right political violence in the 1920s might spark once again. A return to those days would be devastating. Coups are the reason why our country stagnated for a decade. Nia Morgna, the Minister of Justice, sighed. The Red Youth has condemned the killing, but didn't stop there. They promised revenge. This will in turn spark further aggression from the Young Swords. The whole cycle started because Bernard Circus expressed his views. We can't simply look away. Naya had always been one of the only members of the Justice Ministry truly deserving of the name. She had survived countless attacks on her character while fighting corruption within the ministry, and rising to power had only compounded her sense of moral duty. Freedom of expression is part of our Constitution. We can't have anyone, let alone an MP, shot for voicing different opinions. We should protect freedom of speech. Millennialist ideology that the Red Youth promotes poses threats to our country too. We should be cautious. The nationalist Young Swords have overstepped, and they should be put under the loop for such extreme action. Like, yeah, you should crack down on any nationalists, but we gotta deal with rule of law. Like, protect the freedom of speech. The laws do, and for good reason. Silencing voices only results in fear and stagnation inside society. We had that before, and know very well how it was. We hear your concerns. Our police do their best to uphold the rights of our citizens. We will prevent such an act from happening again by making sure our security measures are reevaluated. Our Minister of Defense, Josef Valencia, grunted in approval. He towered over the rest of us in full military uniform. His many war medals conspicuously on display. Agreed, ma'am. Our gendarmerie will also help boost security in the rural areas where possible. There might be more to come. We should refrain from making the issue a political one from the start. It will only add fuel to the fire. It is political, though, isn't it? Yes, but we need to calm the country. If we take sides, we could escalate the situation further. There aren't many sides, the state versus its enemies. Several police cars rushed past the Maroon Palace and everyone went silent. Regardless, a full investigation on all involved parties is underway. We will find the subversives and punish them soon enough, Mr. President. I will do my best to help coordinate the administrative tasks. Justice will be served and the rule of law will return to this country stronger than ever. Only if we stay vigilant as a country. We must think about the upcoming budget. It's too soon to jump to conclusions. Reckless acts will have dire consequences. Stability must be maintained. Security funding might need to be increased. Don't lose sight of our real political goals like constant. Just don't jump to conclusions. Reckless acts have dire consequences. We need to be patient until we have the full picture. Lishan took some notes after checking the latest newspapers and reports. It seems that the tensions between the communists and nationalists will escalate further. It will be very difficult to pass any meaningful change if there is chaos in the country. We can't pass any constitutional reform in such an atmosphere, can't fix the recession if there isn't stability. Make it through this and deliver our promises. You're right. We need to trust our ministers to stabilize the situation if it comes to it. This will be it for today then. Convene again soon. Thank you all and keep us updated. When he concluded and the ministers left the room with concerned looks, it was hard to anticipate what would happen next. No. No, wait. No. That one. Okay. Shot when leaving Anton Rain's inauguration ball by a member of the Young Swords. Business. I think... Oh, okay. So most of these updates are just, this person has died. Circus, been an MP known for his communist prominentism, murdered leaving the Maroon Palace grounds after the inauguration. Efforts include a politically motivated assault by the far-right nationalists of the Young Swords. Shocking photographs have leaked to the press showing blood-stripped stairs at the Maroon Palace. We heavily condemn this sort of political violence. This is the very cycle the president must break with reforms. Yes. Few days later. Oh. I thought it froze up, but this is just a loading screen. Alright, newspapers. Just... guy died. Receiving threats. Television footage showing him laying face down, draped with a white sheet. Pavement. Signed a group of leading Ministry of officials. Oh yeah, thanks for popping in, serial lurker. Appreciate you checking it out. Signed a group of leading ministry officials to lead the hunt for the killers. Once again, dark hands have chosen our country and spilled blood and whole sword to achieve their dark goals. We are investigating all aspects of this crime. His funeral will be held tomorrow in his home city, Dare. Local police have reported to increase security measures for the ceremony. Stand ready for a massive attendance. Swordland has two paths to the future, and this year is critical to decide which path we embark upon. Amid a recession, the lack of stability and security caused by the death of Bernard Circus is an unacceptable reality. We need more jobs and a safe atmosphere if our country is supposed to grow and prosper. But how will we increase our employment and open new factories if there's blood flowing down the streets? Swordland will never reach its goals as an advanced society if we descend in a downward spiral of splintering of a nation. Peace and prosperity now and forever. Tensions between the left and right extremists have increased in the country after the assassination of MP Bernard Circus. Protests of millennialist groups quickly turned into riots around the country. They are calling for peaceful protests and dialogue instead of violence. After the attack that prompted the riots, a member of the Young Swords assassinating a member of the Assembly clearly shows that they are willing to use extreme action, says Franz Richter in his speech in the Grand National Assembly. We live within these borders together, and therefore we all bear a responsibility, a duty to live together with our differences. Richter's unifying message is something that we should all listen to in these times of danger and loss. The murder was a method of the past, and it has tainted us, reminded us of who we were before and who we don't want to become in the future, said Richter, and stated that we, as citizens of this nation, all bear a responsibility beyond ideologies, partisanship, or any other identity. Sad moment for Swordland. We have lost a renowned poet who not only wrote about the struggles of the working class, but also acted on them. However, his decision to enter Swordlish politics was met with a sick attack that ended his life. This was indeed intended as a message to all opposing forces in Swordland. We, the team here at the Radical, condemn this evil act of terror of the Young Swords, who we believe must be held accountable as a whole group. It's finally the time for the government to realize this organization as a terrorist threat and serve the justice that is due. Bernard Circus is always going to be in our hearts as a great Swordish poet, as a revolutionary, as a leader of the Swordish avant-garde, as a futurist, as a romantic, as a millennialist, but among all, as a symbol of freedom of speech. He is now a man who is murdered for speaking his mind. This cannot remain as yet another political murder of the sad reality of Swordland. In fact, it is time to change this. It is time to speak up as people. The most beautiful sea hasn't been crossed yet, said the great poet, reminding us to always have hope. And we must strive to have hope and to make them a reality. It is the best way to honor his memory. Bernard Sucres will be laid down in Daer tomorrow. Any citizen who wants to pay his respect is invited to attend. Swordland's economy has been displaying a downward trend over the past 2 years of Alfonso's presidency. If we want to prevent our economy from declaring bankruptcy, we need a way out of this recession, and we need it now. The economic downturn keeps hitting hard at the businesses which are struggling to stay afloat. It is clear that a helping hand from the government is required to control the situation. There is no other way apart from bailing out businesses to truly provide relief to the economy. This in turn should revitalize the economy by creating more employment opportunities and increasing the production in Swordland. No, you put money in the hands of the people so that they'll go and circulate it back into the economy. It's fucking day one economics. Police overburdened in Estord, receiving reports of a lack of equipment and staff from the police force in Estord. The escalating violence in the city, the officers have been working 12-hour shifts to suppress the protests to no avail. The police commissioner of Estord has requested enforcements and extra supplies of tear gas from nearby cities. It's currently too understaffed to deal with the ongoing political violence. Due to the small size of the police force in the city, they've been working non-stop, and a number of officers were sent to the hospital as a result of severe fatigue. Minister of Interior Elias Graf has been working with the head of police, Carl Greiser, to address the issue. Young Sword's youth wing leader dead after terror attack. Young Sword's youth wing leader is in Suzerain, Jack Toyrin, claimed responsibility for the organized attack in the Blutish market that resulted in the death of 7. His base of operations have been raided, and he was found dead inside with 2 bullet wounds to the back of the head. The scene was organized to make it look like a suicide. We are not able to get information about the location of other ringleaders connected to this terrorist attack. Illegal KA-74s seized. Cash found with Rumberg-made weapons, including 46 KA-74s, 2,854 bullets, 12 handmade guns, 27 grenades, and bomb-making equipment, was found in the basement of an abandoned house in Suzerain. No suspects have been detained yet. The investigation is ongoing to determine the origins of the equipment. My sister wants essential oils for Christmas. Latest diplomatic message from the leader of Wayland warned us regarding a pathway from the mountains of Bergia that allowed traders of the state to escape into Swordland. President Victor Smoland has demanded that the border security be increased. He'll send his best wishes about handling the protests in Swordland. Communist Party leader suspected of bomb attack. At 11:48 a.m., an unattended bag in front of the NFP office in Valgan was destroyed by the police on suspicions of a bomb threat, which were then verified. Upon further investigation, the Communist Party leader of Valgan, Milt Hanu, has been arrested in connection to the incident. Leader Magnolia has diplomatically critiqued the imbalance of trade between our countries. Concerns were raised over how much more Swordland profits from net trade in comparison to Agnolia. Prime Minister Martin van Hoorten requests a fair reevaluation of existing treaties in future negotiations. I can use WASD for this, okay. I was like clicking and dragging it all over the place before. Now it's so much easier. There we go. Robbery Police Department raided the local Communist Party office after alleged attacks organized by one of their members and found illegal firearms in the office. The building has been closed and 22 members of the Communist Party of Swordland have been detained. Local police forces report that a wardrobe full of heavy military equipment has been seized in the Young Swords Cultural Center in Jen. Regulars of the place denied having any knowledge about the weapons. The owners of the building have been detained along with 13 other people. Also, yes, that was very similar to a Simpsons character's name. It was Martin Van Horn. Is it? Fuck, I gotta look up what his last name is. I don't remember. Martin, no. Wait. Come on. No. What the fuck is his name? Oh, it's just Martin Prince.
It's not a Simpsons character at all. We might be thinking of Martin Van Buren, though, who was a president. That's it. What do you got for me? Another reports. Reports of BFF activity in the capital. Chief of Police Carl Grice reports that two Belush women with affiliations with the Belush Freedom Front and caught in whole sword before they could execute a terror attack at a crowded rally. Both women are listed as wanted criminals and enemies of the state. The rest of the women have admitted their intentions to attack the National Front Party's rally at Seoul Square when Kazaro Kivener gave his speech but rejected any connections to the BFF. Both claimed they were acting alone. The situation is under control. Further investigations are underway. Security briefing. Right in front of the doors leading to the Situation Room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts, starting with internal matters and moving on to external matters after a short break. Minister of Interior, Lilias Graff, and the Minister of Justice and Law, Naya Morgana, would join us for the first part, the law enforcement briefing. For the second part, the Minister of Defense, Josef Lancia, would join with a few high-ranking officials, including the Chief of Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger. I see him. I opened the door. Lucian, Naya, and Lilias rose from their seats. Sir? Let's take your seats. From the room sat down except for Lucian. He put on his glasses and went through the documents in front of him. Shortly after, he raised his head to address the attendees. Mr. President, ladies, we will kick off today's meeting with the internal security briefing. I'm assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We all have busy schedules, so without further ado, I will jump into our first topic. As we feared, the political atmosphere has worsened. Reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising as we feared. What is the status on the Bernard Circus investigation? I've received news this morning that the investigation of the murder of Bernard Circus has concluded. Enlighten us. The more we know, the better. After further research and testimonies, we have confirmed the intention and also the events leading up to the shooting. A few days prior, members of the Red Youth initiated a violent attack on the Young Swords' local leader in Gen. He believed the Young Swords then called for revenge, leading to the death of Mr. Circus. Since he often spoke against the Young Swords and nationalist sentiments in the assembly, he was a big target, not to mention his radical communist views. He had it coming then. Well, Sorlin has lost a great writer. What? Political violence needs to stop now. We've kept it at bay for so long, but it seems there are, now new triggers. Latest handed over the report and pointed a highlighted section into the document. The investigation revealed a very troubling fact. The funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Cantanta. Which one is that? Federico de Lispia, Auckland, Agnolia, Whalen. Where are they? For power of the world. Where are you hiding? No, they're not nearby on the map. Are you sure? Found the cash trail. Several Red Youth members with ties to United Cantanta have been detained, and the information extracted from them points to a preparation for a communist uprising in Swordland. It isn't... Damn it, now you got me thinking about the Simpsons character again. Because I think it's the music teacher. No, that's Dewey Largo. It's bugging me, and I can't move on till I... Van Houten. Oh. Van Houten is Millhouse's last name. So Millhouse Van Houten. I mean, that's not even close. It just has a Van in his name. It's not even close to what the other guys up there was. It's unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I believe this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Swordland. Naya eagerly lifted her hand. I motioned for her to speak. I went over the report in detail. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign interference yet. United Cantata has humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries, including Swordland. Yeah, just don't jump to conclusions immediately. Shouldn't create a crisis. Nearly 3 decades ago, they funded General Rickard and tried to establish communist dictatorship in our country. If it was not for Colonel Sol, we would have seen the real crisis. He sipped from her glass of water and continued. Our police chief Karl Greisner has linked the funding channel to the United Cantata Consulate in Benfi. As we all know, the enemies of Swordland are many, but we also have threats inside the country. We need to remain vigilant. As a people and a nation. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve neither freedoms nor security. Absolutely. This is debatable, but yes, we know what more security and surveillance caused to this country under President Sol. Let's not forget that President Sol, God bless him, brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos, but moving on. Our highest internal threat comes from the estimated 20,000 strong British Freedom Front, led by the imprisoned Dulan Orgi. They're a banned political organization, now a militant force that is trying to incite racial violence. I'm going to say the fact that he doesn't have a picture here means that he's going to show up at some point. And I'm not supposed to know who he is. Make a lot of noise, but have little substance. Barking dog doesn't bite. They're supported by our British citizens, cooperating with any British political organizations. Many suspected links exist between the British Freedom Front and the Workers' Party of Bludia, but we don't have any concrete proof yet. Elias points to page 3 in the report. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Rumburg border. They were filled with military-grade Ka-74s. We expect that more of them have been smuggled in since a group of Bluds were caught with these guns at a checkpoint not far away. Rumburg has been acting aggressively in the region for a long time. I'm not surprised that they would attempt to weaponize the British people against us. This is worrying. Very worrying. Can we make any direct correlations to blame Rumburg? It was expected that Rumburg were down to minus, but this is too far. We need to be level-headed with Rumburg. They're looking for reasons to take action. They will play dirty while we play nice. It is a battle we will lose. This is grave news, but we must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-British sentiment. What is the second most important threat? It's the gang violence that is threatening the Nargis and Ogden regions. 2 prominent organized crime families are at war, and the potential for bloodshed is real. Which 2 crime families? One is known as the Coronelli, the other is Skinner Cartel. They used to be allies until a recent disagreement. Both are active in the cities of Narbel and Estord. Back to the 1880s, started with bootlegging. Fighting the organizations with dedication. Only keep it at bay. Legal drug and organ trafficking. Skinner Cartel that skins their enemies alive. Skinners haven't been getting along well with the Coronelli Cartel due to a conflict of interest in their criminal networks. However, when it comes to avoiding the police, both cooperate whenever they can to survive the day. Trust that you can handle them. Doing my best. To be honest with you, with our current capabilities, we may not be able to prevent the further arming of separatists while maintaining order in Bergia and Argus and Auckland. You promised to increase Swordland's security and law enforcement budget. You must keep this promise. Keep that promise, especially in light of all this information. Rid our country from separatists and violent thugs if you can support us. Wish you would stop using the word thugs, Laius. The real problem is corruption, which is fueling the gang violence, and is very likely the reason why these weapons are smuggled in. A higher budget could help us end that. Valid points. Corruption is the root of all evil, after all. We can look into corruption once the weapons have been found and the gangs have been beaten. Just like the previous administrations kicking the can down the road, this is what's destroying our institutions. Laius and Naya were openly scowling at each other. Laius turned back to her notes. Well, this includes the topic for the internal portion. Thank you for the updates, Mrs. Graff, Mrs. Morgna. Thank you for the overview. Have a good day. Until next time. 2 ministers left the room. We took a short break before continuing to the second part. Upon invitation, Josef Lancia, along with 3 high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Defense, walked into the room. One of the men was none other than General Kruger, the Chief of the Armed Forces. Josef made his way towards the table while the others stood by the door. Mr. President. Josef, welcome. Brought General Kruger with me due to the escalations on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He had a strong jaw with sharp cheekbones. His tall stature, uniform and medals, combined with a deep and intense stare, made him look threatening. He was in his 70s, yet he had a bulky body that was a result of his commando training. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Swordland, he was also the longest serving. Salute. He smiled at the gesture and bowed his head in respect. Josef tapped his foot impatiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Let's begin. Josef and Vulcan took their seats at the table while the rest of the officers stood by the door. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders towards Rumburg is very tense. We are observing deployments of divisions closer to our border. Rumburg has been acting increasingly expansionist in the past decades and also interfered in Agnolia, but now they have turned their sights on us. Trust the capabilities. Current strategy. Patrolling close to the borders with our border force and keeping Army Reserve divisions near. Seems they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Mr. President, if I may, please. The picture is becoming clearer. The latest information from the interior about the weapons caches, and now there is an active military buildup close to our borders. The entire situation was analyzed by our general staff, and our prediction is a future territorial incursion by Rumburg. Complete trust in the General Staff. We will not let you down, Mr. President. The General Staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then we can stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged armed forces will hold them at bay. Vulcan is right. We do need an increase in the military budget to have a more capable force to face regional power to defend Swordland. 2 of our most talented officers are voicing a common opinion. That is an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, Mr. President, whether we like it or not. We must be prepared. During the election, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I asked you to reconsider and to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Swordland is in your hands. Defense of our nation is more important. I knew you would understand, Mr. President. Forces would crumble under a decrease, and Rumburg would be much more compelled to exploit our weaknesses. The country hasn't fallen to any invading forces for 200 years. You cannot let it happen, Mr. President. We could also find regional allies like Bolgsland or Lesbia to deter Rumburg. There are several options on the table. Rumburg wouldn't attack any nation allied with superpower. Swordland missed down on its own two feet. Options should be considered. Could be considered, but why pander to others when we can solve these issues ourselves? We have no true friends outside these borders. One fell silent when a soldier entered the room and let Josef Lancia know that a call had come through from the ministry. Excuse me, Mr. President. Josef left the room to answer. A few minutes later, he entered the room again. His expression had changed. Mr. President, there has been Rumburgian military activity close to the Narbel border. I just spoke with the local commander. Which one's Narble? Which one's Narble? Narble, Narble, Narble. Narble. So they're over here. Yeah. Vulcan, you should go to the ministry and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there is truly an extraordinary attempt, we will relay it to you immediately and wait for further orders, Mr. President. ready. Come show them my service is appreciated. Make sure not to escalate things further. Nobody wants a war. Exercise utmost caution. Hail, Swordland. Hail. Slutin left the room. Rumberg was already testing us, and the reports from the interior indicate interference inside of our borders. Communists, nationalists, Blutish rebels, Rumberg expansionism. What was next? Swordland had always been a key piece in the chessboard of the global rivalry between Arcasia and United Contanta, but in recent years there was no such aggression from Rumberg, not at these levels at least. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Rumberg had decided to close their consulate in Lakivan. Which one's that one there? Okay, yeah, that's definitely a bad sign. Of, an invading country. Let's close down our consulate so that, I don't know, you can't take our people hostage. I don't know exactly why. Terms of an infrastructure project. Anonymous sources have reported to Sortland today that several government officials have invited construction companies to meetings regarding a new major infrastructure project. True, this is great news as infrastructure in Sortland is lacking heavily needed investment. Hope that very qualified and experienced companies like Underhall Construction win the bid. Yeah. Gang violence claims young girl's life. 15-year-old girl was shot to death in Narble as she walked her dog a few blocks away from her apartment. Police said the shooting, which occurred in an area affiliated with Gang Coronelli, was a reckless act of violence, and the victim was not the target. The 15-year-old was shot about 4:45 p.m. right before she was returning home. A man who witnessed the event told police the shooters yelled gang slogans at him on the street before he heard someone fire at least 10 shots, sources said. He later saw that the victim had been hit and called the authorities. Our sources report that the local police force of the region is understaffed and overworked, which adds to the current bleak situation. 1927, never again. I was there when General Luderin and Rickard clashed in the plains outside of Full Sword, and the armies of Swordish people killed each other. I was there when Colonel Sol won the war after bombarding cities with Swordish civilians inside them. We saw this great nation fall into bloodshed and chaos. We thought that we had learned our lesson and formed a new republic. One man's idea became the idea of the state. We allowed it to be forced upon us. We were a generation who lived with Tarkin Sol for most of our lives. However, this generation is different. Our kids have not experienced civil war or martial law. This generation is born in a changing time. We cannot allow the same conditions to return. We cannot forget when General Luderin declared martial law in 1927, when his tanks rolled and murders took place. Those tanks cannot roll again. Bombs cannot fall again. Freedoms cannot be suspended again. 1927, never again. Real truth behind the economic crisis. We've all seen this scenario play before. Large corporate businesses time and time again receive money from the government under the disguise of helping the economy. But what about the people? Many in the neglected regions still do not have electricity or fresh water in their homes, and they are the lucky ones. There's a growing housing crisis, and people are on the streets begging for food in the year of 1954. It is high time that money is invested in us, the people of Swordland, instead of armchair millionaires in their luxurious villas. Underhall Construction, once again, number one. 11th time company was selected for the top spot in a row. Veteran industry leader Scar congratulated employees first and foremost in a private company meeting held in a luxurious resort in Arlery. As mentioned, the recent addition of Heart of Swordland Organization CEO Marcel Coranti to the board of advisors helped immensely with this great achievement. As the economist, we think it is now a great time to invest in Underhall Construction, as the current year's projection already shows a 13% increase in growth compared to the last year. And Rumberg closing down the closet. It was temporary or permanent. Secondly, a break in diplomatic ties which date from 1923. Further deterioration of relations between Swordland and Rumberg can be easily regarded as a one-sided provocation from the north. Yeah, nationwide protests. Diplomatic pressure from Rumberg. On midnight, red youth protesters clashed with young Sword City Center, resulting in many injuries. Counter-protesters were cornered in front of the United Cantata Embassy, but they were pushed back by police. The embassy opened its doors, and red youth members escaped inside. Police are still waiting outside the building for the return of the red youth members. It's not great. It's not great. Time to go have work. Arcasia develops its first CBM. Intelligence supports that Arcasia successfully completed the Missile 4, an intercontinental ballistic missile which has estimated capacity to accurately destroy targets at thousands of kilometers range. Arcasian missile capabilities have significantly increased, posing a threat to territories that are further away from Western Marcopa. Now I'm gonna have dinner with the family. After a long day at the palace, I was finally home. I thanked Sergei and walked through the front gates, nodding at the 2 guards as I went by. Even as I turned the doorknob, I could hear Deanna rushing down the stairs to greet me. I opened the doors, and there she was, standing in front of me with expectant eyes. Papa, you're home! There's my little... pick up my daughter, trying to put the keys in the tray next to the entrance. She was growing fast. Lifting her up was no longer as easy as it once was. I read a thing once that, like, one day you put your child down and then you put your child down for the last time, like you never pick them up again, because they get too big. How was school? Boring. I liked my old school better. Put her down and her expression turned serious. Papa, are the bad men gone? There's only one bad man, Tiana, and yes, he's gone now. Okay, Papa. Deanna dashed down the hallway. Mama, Papa's here. Monica appeared next to the kitchen door. She was wearing an apron and holding a spatula in her hand. Deanna, what did I tell you? No running in the house. Yes, Mama. Monica approached me and kissed me on the cheek. A tantalizing smell wafted from the kitchen behind her. I'm hungry. When's dinner? Terrific. I finally got to do some grocery shopping, just like the old times, and I'm making your favorite. You mean... Yes, svabli! Svabli was a classic wholesale delicacy. Vegetables and creamy sheep cheese sandwiched between thin layers of dough. It was absolutely my favorite dish, especially paired with kebij, potent unfiltered wine from Bergia. What's the occasion? No occasion, I just wanted to cheer everyone up a bit. Her smile faded and she lowered her voice so that Deanna wouldn't hear, especially after what happened at the ball. I'm worried, Anton, for you, for the children, and for our country. Yeah, of course. This is all fictional countries, dude. Deanna suddenly appeared next to us. Mama! Yes, sweetheart? I'm hungry. We'll eat in just a minute. Will you help me set the table? Anton, can you tell Frank to come down for dinner? He's been sulking in his room all day. Monica started taking out the china while I headed upstairs to fetch my son. Loud rock and roll music echoed down the hallway from his room. I caught a faint hint of cigarette smoke. Got a knock on the door so that he can hide his jazz cigarettes. There's no response. I knock on the door again. Still no response. I bang on the door. The stereo in Frank's room clicked off. Alright, alright. He unlocked and opened the door. What do you want? Food's ready. Turn those records up louder next time, won't you? I don't think the neighbors heard. I'm your father, and you will respond when I ask for you. Hand over those cigarettes and join your family for dinner. You smoke, don't you? I'm old enough to do what I want. I'm trying to quit that nasty habit. You ought to stop while you still can. Yeah, like, this is the best answer, but, like, if you're not going to be able to stop your kids from smoking, like, at least just do it in the backyard so you're not having to, like, run down to a gas station at 2 in the morning and getting into trouble. You know, just don't do it in the fucking house. Frank heaved a sigh, handed me the packet, and headed downstairs. I followed him to the living room. The table was prepared, and Monica was ladling food onto the plates. Come on, have a seat. It won't be tasty if it's cold. As we started eating, the room went quiet. Monica's cooking was as delicious as ever, but I had the feeling that it wasn't the reason nobody spoke. Monica was the first to break the silence. Say, did you know that they refurbished the grocery store? I don't know if you remember the owner. He's been there every day for the past 30 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for so long? What if you were president for 20 years, for example? 20 years of this, I'd be dead. Not the country just... Would that really be so bad? We could live like kings! Greed. That must never happen again. Anyway, the grocer really is a nice person. He threw in some extra vegetables with my... Frank suddenly slammed his hands on the table, rattling the china. Monica, Deanna, and I stared at him. So this is how it's gonna be? We're just gonna sit here like nothing happened? Dad, you could have been killed. Mom could have been killed. Any one of us could have died. Deanna's lower lip started trembling. Monica put her hand on Frank's shoulder. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to you, Deanna, even if it cost me my life. And what would you have us do? You will not raise your voice to me, young man. I know, but still. Can you at least tell me if something's being done about this? It was real close, Dad. You know the details. Security assured me that they took all the necessary steps. It was one rogue shooter. We were not even the target. But what if we were? Frank, listen to your father. If your father says we don't need to worry, then we don't need to worry. You have to trust him. Monica turned to me. We all have to trust each other. Things calmed down a bit at the table. We finished our food in silence. Frank got up first and retreated back to his room. Monica lifted Deanna up and plopped her in front of the living room TV before turning to the table. She sat her down across from me. Anton, he is still young. I know, but there's not much longer we can shield him from the ugliness of the world. So it worries me. I made plenty of rash decisions when I was his age. My father would have given me hell for that kind of insubordination. Ooh, the economy's getting worse. You make plenty of rash decisions now, too. Frank's not the only one who's scared, Anton. If there truly is any threat to this family, I'll be the first to know. Everyone's putting one delicious dinner on our table. She got up, stood behind me, and massaged my shoulders for me before leaving me alone in the dining room. I sat alone at the table and drained my glass of kibish. Had I been lying to Frank and Deanna? Was the threat to my family truly over? Time would tell. News at 11. Tests. Yeah, this is slow. Slow news. I already know this stuff. Tests in Bruni. And just protest talk. Little chaos. Everybody's calling protests. Damn the communist influence. Labor union, condemn the nationalist violence, burning down the house. Political situation around the country has escalated. Chief strategist Lucien Galande has prepared several action plans that we can execute. What will we do to address the intensifying political climate? Call for restraint on national television. Visit affected towns in person. Label all protesters as traitors. Expand the police by deploying all recruits in training. That's a terrible fucking idea. Holy shit. Like, Jesus, that's just gonna get people killed. I'm going on this one. Because, like... First option, the just call for a thing on TV, and then the go there in person, and declare them traitors, send the recruits out. The last two, we're only going to cause problems. Declare any protesters as traitors that's just going to make them more mad. Sending the police recruits out before they're fully trained, like I said, they're just going to get people killed. And the first two are fairly ineffectual, but at least the second one has a more personal touch to it. President Rain visited towns around Greater Whole Sword and Garuni regions, which were heavily affected by the protests and riots that popped up around the country, triggered by the death of Circus. He was seen talking to the protesters and listening to the concerns of the citizens. Sends a powerful message to Sword citizens that the government is walking among them and listening to their problems. Whole Sword is desperately trying to restart Swordland's economy after the recession, and this political unrest is not helping. So yeah, I think that was the best possible option there. But yeah, there's this personal life, of course. I gotta deal with my unruly son. Ooh, and that wife of mine who really just needs to keep making dinners and stop having opinions. Urgh. And hopefully I can fuck my secretary now. Maroon Palace was finally finally getting somewhat quiet when I returned to my office at the top. I eagerly approached my chair and sprawled out on it. It had been an exhausting day, just like every day since I took office. Yeah, just relaxed for a minute. Stretched out my arms, leaned back in my chair, and took a deep breath. Full Sword skyline was daunting but beautiful. Glanced downwards at the window and saw Sergei and the guards waiting for me by the main gate. Heard a couple of knocks on the door. My secretary, Olivia Suno, entered. Mr. President, Mr. Tusk is here to see you. Millionaire businessman, inventor of the current spokesman of the Lotherberg Group. He runs that newspaper of, hey, let's just talk about captains of industry. How visible even is that? Because it hits pretty hard on my end. Like, he's definitely promoting business, but if had a meeting with the Lothbrok spokesman, I'm so sorry for not giving you proper notice. Don't worry about it. Do your job properly next time. Do you expect me to keep track of everything myself? Don't worry about it. Thank you for your understanding. After a moment, Mr. Tusk swaggered into the room. I'd met Swordland's most prominent businessmen once or twice, but never alone. He had large jowls, blindingly shiny shoes, and the air of someone who was used to getting his way. Anything to drink, Mr. Tusk? Water? Whiskey? Cognac, preferably from before you were born, sweetheart. He slaps her on the ass as she walks away. I'll check the supply room. Olivia backed out of the office, shooting me an apologetic look as she did so. You're saying he slaps my secretary's ass, cut his hands off? Well, he didn't. That was my joke. Walter hung up his hat, which I could see was lined with mink. He fixed me with a long, hard stare and then broke into a toothy grin. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm here to congratulate you. We both sat down. My business partners and I wish you a successful term as the leader of our nation. Just get to the fucking point already. I had no chance to say this at the ball with all the panic, but we are very much looking forward to working with you. Thank you. I'd like to build a profitable relationship between us. That being said, there are some concerns of mine and the people I represent, which I would like to take this opportunity to clear up. People you represent? You know that I represent the Lothbrok Group, Mr. President. My cat's here again. Go squish her. But of course, these concerns are not limited to them. The ruined state of the economy in Swordland has influenced everyone. Sorry, just imagine just that exact situation. President's talking with a fucking oligarch. Then his cat comes in meowing a little bit. Just, Mia, please, this is important conversation. I'll feed you later. The ruined state of the economy in Swordland has influenced everyone. The recession hit all of us hard. Walter pulled out a box of cigars from his jacket. I had these brought in from Lesbia. The best cigars in the whole continent. Would you like to try one? I don't want to smoke. Walter grabbed himself a cigar and lit it. He looked out towards the sky, city scenery as he puffed away. I heard that you purchased stock from Armadine Industries in Arcasia. Smart buy. They're developing new gadgets that are going to be profitable. With risk comes reward. I expect a very good return on investment. Spend money to make money. See if it holds true. You'll be surprised at what one can achieve given the resources in capitalism. I'll buy a couple of thousands of shares too to expand my portfolio. Hope the investment pay off for both of us, President. His eyes wander away for a moment. You are having a good start to the term for sure, besides the recent troubles. Glad that you have decided to promote the free market, which is the only thing that can get us out of this mess. We had nothing but trouble so far. The ability of the free market to evolve is hard to dispute. It's good that we think alike on that matter. I took favorably to my economic team's advice. Couldn't have said it better. But could I? We really think that there are many elements where our capital should be of help to the government. He grinned. The highway investment was a good call, but there was more to gain in the high-speed rail, especially for business logistics. Anglian region was dire need of investment. Let's focus on the needs of the people, boost the economy. The most important goal is to divert investments where most profits can be made for the Treasury. We can be close allies. The group can help you get Swordland out of the recession, which will be a key problem to solve in your term and could even determine your re-election. Let's start with a gesture of goodwill. Soon the investment project contract will be awarded to one of the three main contenders. He pulled a check out of his pocket and slid it towards me on the tape. My personal bank details were listed on it with a deposit of 500,000 Swordish Ren ready to be transferred. This was 6 months of a president's salary. If the contract is somehow awarded to Underhall Construction, they would not only work hard and deliver, but also do it on time. What do you think, Mr. Rain? Wouldn't that be good? He put his index finger on the check. There was a noise by the door. Livia Suno was standing there, holding a tray with a bottle and 2 glasses. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tusk, but all I could find was the 1942 Savigny. I hope that's acceptable. She quickly put the tray on the desk and walked out. Tusk eyed her as she left. Remind me to visit your office more often. Now, where were we? Do we have a deal? Indeed, Mr. Tusk. Just blatantly take bribe. We both know you can do better. You just try to bribe the president of Swordland? Yeah. I was thinking in terms of, like, take a bribe, but then, like, back out of the deal. Like, do whatever the fuck I want. Because what are you gonna do? Admit to bribing the president? Anyway, yeah, I'm taking the bribe. You don't have to wait long, Mr. Rain. As a gesture of faith in our newfound partnership, I'll invite you to a special meeting in the future. He grinned and let out a laugh. The check was right between his hands. He pulled his hands back and I took the check. This deal also aligns with the free market strategy your government has adopted besides boosting further investment. The goal is to unite every stakeholder to improve the economy. The administration will maintain a good relationship with the group. Very happy we came to an agreement today. Likewise, President Rain. It's a pleasure doing business with you. I'll be keeping in touch. Walter stood up, grabbed his jacket, and shook my hand before making his way towards the door. He smiled before closing the door and leaving. Gathered my things and prepared to finally head home. As I walked out, I noticed Livia still there, covering up her typewriter for the evening. If I may be so bold, Mr. President, did you accept his offer? Well, guess what, Frank? You're not a citizen of Swordless. You're not allowed to vote. Of course I didn't. The other girls have told me about all kinds of dealings that went on during the Alfonso administration. I wasn't sure if you were that kind of president. I most certainly am not. She and I took a moment to look out the lights of the city before heading to the elevators. Personal wealth increased. Visited the towns most affected by the political subject bribe. Think I'm gonna go over the newspaper. No, I'll leave the newspapers there. I'm gonna call it there because I have been talking nonstop for 3 hours, and my throat hurts, and I want to stop. Oh God, oh dear sweet God, do I want to stop talking? So I am. Bye.